Want more revenue without services? Add Tressic to your stack to turn conversations into outcomes. See how at Tressic.cloud.
Hey everybody, it's Doug Green and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News, and it's my great pleasure to have with me today Patrick Watson of Cavell. Patrick, thank you for joining me today.
Absolute pleasure to be with you, Doug. We've spoken so many times in the past, but it's nice to get on the virtual recording.
Well, it's great, and you know we it's show season, everyone. So I know a lot of people are looking at which shows should I attend, where can I get great information, and Cavell is right there with some great research and some information that can't be missed. So we're going to be talking about 3 upcoming events, but first, Patrick, what is Cavell?
So we are a completely independent research consultancy and events firm that's been working in communications, helping some of the biggest brands around the world in terms of technology, communications technology for more than 15 years. And we do that, Doug, in a number of ways with research that goes across both industry-focused research, so we speak to all the key technology vendors, and also in addition, every year we survey tens of thousands of businesses, so they might be in North America, they might be in Western Europe, about their use of technology, their adoption of technology, and their attitudes towards it. And then additionally, we also have a tool called Channel Insights, which allows us to look at tens of thousands of channel organizations around the world in terms of what they're selling. So we get lots of different angles on the communications technology space, and we try to bring that information to everyone in our events.
Now you actually have you're at some events, and then you're actually hosting, I think, 3 different events coming up.
Yeah, so we, as the Cavell team, the research team and the consultancy team, we obviously go all around the world. So we've been at Enterprise Connect this year, plus all of the usual vendor events in our analyst capacity. And Doug, it's to find out what's going on, get the latest news from all of those vendors about the technology that they're using. But also Cavell, as well as our research and consultancy businesses, we conduct our own events, and these are entirely industry focused events. So these aren't at the moment for enterprise business. They are entirely for the providers of communication technology, and focused on go-to-market, revenue and margin creation, opportunities and challenges, but also what the enterprises really want. So yeah, we have a string of events throughout the year. Only earlier this year, I was in Australia for the first time as we hosted our second Cavell Summit APAC, which was really interesting if anyone's interested in any of the analysis of the APAC market. But we've got events coming up on the 25th of March. We've got our Cavell Summit Europe, which takes place in London. And there's still last minute tickets available for anyone who's available. And that event brings together 400-500 participants who will represent over 100, maybe 150 of both Europe, but not just Europe, globally, the biggest communication providers. So whether they're the vendors themselves, communication service providers, or telcos, to really try and drive some thought leadership about what's happening within the communication space and what those vendors and service providers need to do in order to succeed more and sell more to customers.
Why should I go to the Cavell Summit Europe? Why should I go to London and attend that conference?
Well, as director of research, though, I would say it's for the research, which we give a huge amount of data away for free. So me and myself, and I've got a great team of analysts and researchers underneath me. We spend all year gathering as much data from industry providers as possible. So that might be about growth, that might be about market share, that might be about competitive threats. And during the event, we give a huge amount of this research away for free to make it interesting to our attendees. I think, though, it's not just, unfortunately, as director of research, I'm always going to say that the research is most important. What we get regularly from attendee feedback is that actually the networking opportunities are some of the main reasons that participants join the event. As I said, we get 400-500 attendees, all of whom are involved in the communication space, all of whom are trying to grow their businesses in different ways, whether that's selling to communication service providers or selling directly to enterprise businesses. So I think, Doug, it's a composite of a lot of great information, a lot of great insights that hopefully we can give away as the Cavell team, but also all of that counterpart networking analysis that you can get from speaking to your peers, your counterparts, and your competitors to try and get ahead. So I think it's a combination of all of those different things, Doug.
So you go for the information, you also go for the people. There's networking. You're going to achieve certain things, but you're also going to learn certain things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, come for the information, stay for the networking. Hopefully you get to take away some new information. And I think, Doug, we've talked for years about the communication markets, and what we see is we're at a really fundamental shifting point within the communication space. I think the advent of AI, the convergence of different technology areas that were previously siloed, actually means that we're in a real turning point for the industry. And I think there's a lot of challenges for traditional communication service providers in terms of how do they sell those new services to businesses, and we really focus on that from a European perspective during the Cavell Summit Europe. So hopefully there'd be something for everyone if you're involved in the communication space.
And then leaping ahead to early spring or early summer, actually, you've got another event in London.
Yeah, so for the first time this year, we're launching our Cavell CX Summit. And I'll give you a little bit of the background. What I was just talking about there in terms of convergence, and I know you and I have discussed this previously, traditionally customer experience focused technologies, and I'm using that as a sort of umbrella term for anything that might be contact center or informal customer experience, that generally tend to be siloed from general communications or from telephony. But definitely what we've seen over the past 5 to 10 years is this much stronger convergence of customer experience technology and communications technology overall. And I think a piece of news that obviously came out recently in terms of Salesforce launching their own CCaaS platform, that's a CRM provider going right into the CCaaS space, sort of perfectly illustrates what we're seeing around that convergence. So we at Cavell, we've had a specific breakout focusing on customer experience for a long time within our events, but we get so much interest now in customer experience in contact center. We thought this justified a completely standalone event. So for the first time this year, we're going to run, as I said, a completely a unique event on its own, which will just be focused on customer experience. So that'll be contact center technology, but also, Doug, I think one thing that's really important in Europe and also in North America as well is our informal contact center solutions. We've seen a real rise in demand for maybe not full fat CCaaS solutions, but actually something that might have traditional PBX functionality with some additional customer experience handling capability bolted on, maybe some workforce management software. So we're really seeing that demand in terms of wanting knowledge around the CX space. So yeah, we've launched a completely dedicated event in the Cavell CX Summit, which, as you said, will take place in London on the 16th of June. We'd love to have anyone attend who's interested in any form of customer experience and contact center.
I got to ask, will everybody's talking nonstop about agentic AI and CX? Will you guys be covering that as well?
Surprisingly, Doug, we will be covering that. I think you're absolutely right. It's really interesting when you look at what people's definitions of agentic are. But I think I was only last week at NICE Cognigy's event, Nexus, which went on at the same time as Enterprise Connect. I know there was a lot of talk of AI and agentic AI at Enterprise Connect as well, and it was the same at Nexus. And I think that ultimately, that is going to underpin almost all of those areas of technology that we talked about. When I mentioned that I think we're at a tipping point in terms of AI, I actually think the contact center is often the sort of bastion for the use of AI within communications. And I think the reason for that is generally problems with dealing with customers and handling customers have been some of the most complicated problems that businesses face within their communication estates. So when a new technology comes along, like we saw the developments in 2023 with the large language models, and now we're starting to see more agentic capability in terms of AI being able to go away and complete tasks and functions for you outside of just answering questions that you put into an LLM or an agent. I think because AI has that new cutting edge capability, that's why it's so relevant in the contact center space. And absolutely, we'll be covering AI use cases, both in voice, but also in omni and multi-channel customer experience opportunities. And also, what does agentic really mean? And is agentic AI really going to be suitable for business of all sizes, or is it going to be confined to just the really largest enterprises? So yeah, that'll definitely be a topic that we look at.
And then finally, coming up in the fall, you're going to be having a US event.
Yeah, so we've held this event for a number of years now. This is the equivalent event to our Cavell Summit Europe. So again, we get hundreds of attendees representing all of the largest communication service providers and telcos that you've got in North America. We've held the event previously in New York, Chicago, Washington, DC a couple of times. We're still waiting to confirm the venue, so keep your eyes peeled on cavell.com for when that gets launched. And that'll be, it's normally around October time in 2026. But again, Doug, what we found is, although some of the topics are similar in a European and a North American context, actually there's so much nuance in terms of both the regulatory landscape, the go-to-market landscape. If you look at the North American market, the traditional thing that's always been said is the popularity of the agency model, whereas it's very resale focused in Europe, although we're seeing a bit of transition both ways now in both markets. But there's so much nuance that we had to have a dedicated event in North America. The majority of our business actually comes from North American organizations where the technology generally is developed and advanced from. So yeah, our dedicated North American summit happens in October roughly, and we look at all of the biggest topics that will be impacting the industry. Again, it will be convergence, it will be artificial intelligence, it'll be the competitive landscape, which I think is really interesting, Doug. I know you work with the CCA, and we've done lots of work in conjunction with them. When you ask communication providers who are your biggest competitors, every time we do the research, Doug, we're getting different answers back. Last time we did it, it was CRM vendors. When we recently before that, we got data that it was actually AI startups. So I think communication providers are worried about who are they competing with. It's no longer necessarily the national telcos or regional competitors. It might be AI startups. It might be CCaaS providers. So I think that competitive landscape is going to be a really interesting focus in all of the upcoming events as well.
Well, Patrick, I really want to thank you for joining me today. I changed the way the screen looks a little bit so people can utilize that barcode there. But where can people learn more about these upcoming events and also the research work you guys do at Cavell?
Yeah, if anyone's interested in attending any of the events that we talked about today, and we'd love to have you along, do head to Cavell.com or reach out again to any of the Cavell team, including myself on LinkedIn. And one thing I'd say, Doug, as well, we obviously have a research portfolio that we take to market that covers market sizing data and insights that we get from enterprise survey. But if we're not talking to you about what you're seeing in your local market, I'd love to talk to you. If you're a communication provider, if you're a telco, if you're a software developer, I'd love to talk to you, and my research team would love to talk to you about what you're seeing in your local market. So as a sort of first point of contact, that would be a really interesting thing for me, is what's happening from everyone out there. We get all of our information from the industry, and we really like to think that we've built a really good community. So if you're not aware of Cavell, head to Cavell.com, reach out to any of us on LinkedIn, and we'd love to have a discussion about what you're seeing in your markets and the communication technology landscape.
Patrick, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure, Doug, always.
Make voice valuable again. Tressic turns every call and text into action automatically. Learn more at tressic.cloud.